Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you love and seen a complete stranger staring back? That's what happened to Mark. It was a Tuesday, just like any other. He came home from a long day at work, tired but looking forward to a quiet evening with his wife, Sarah. They'd been married for 7 years, a picture-perfect couple to everyone who knew them. But lately, something had felt off. A distance had crept in, a quiet chill that he couldn't quite put his finger on. He found her in the living room, staring out the window, her phone clutched in her hand. "Hey, you!" he said, trying to sound cheerful as he dropped his keys on the counter. "Tough day?" She jumped, startled, and quickly shoved her phone into her pocket. "Oh, Mark. You're home early." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It was a polite, practiced smile, the kind you give to an acquaintance, not the man you share your life with. That was the first crack in the illusion. "Just the usual," he replied, walking over to kiss her. She turned her head slightly, so his lips met her cheek instead of her mouth. It was a small gesture, almost unnoticeable, but to Mark, it felt like a door slamming shut. He pulled back, a knot forming in his stomach. "Everything okay, Sarah?" he asked, his voice softer now. "You seem distant." She laughed, a sound that was a little too high, a little too forced. "Don't be silly. I'm just tired. Long day for me, too." She busied herself, tidying cushions that were already neat, avoiding his gaze. The room, once filled with the warmth of their shared life, suddenly felt vast and empty. Mark knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that this was more than just a bad day. Over the next few weeks, the distance grew into a chasm. Late nights at the office, hushed phone calls she'd take in another room. A new password on her phone, she claimed, was for security. Every excuse was plausible on its own, but together, they wove a tapestry of deceit that Mark could no longer ignore. He tried to talk to her, to bridge the gap. He planned date nights, bought her flowers, reminded her of the early days of their love. But it was like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. His efforts just seemed to drain away, leaving him feeling foolish and exhausted. He remembered their wedding day, the way she had looked at him with such unshakable love and trust. Where had that woman gone? He started to doubt himself. Was he not enough? Had he done something wrong? The self-doubt was a poison, seeping into every corner of his mind. He lost weight, couldn't sleep, and walked through his days in a fog of anxiety. His friends noticed, telling him he looked terrible and asking if everything was all right. He'd just nod and say he was stressed from work, the lie tasting like ash in his mouth. The breaking point came on a rainy Saturday afternoon. Sarah had said she was going out with her friend Jessica for a girls' day. Mark was trying to fix a leaky faucet under the sink when he found an old, forgotten gift bag from their anniversary. Inside was a photo album he'd made for her 2 years prior. He sat on the cold kitchen floor and started flipping through the pages. There they were, smiling in Paris, laughing on a beach, holding hands at a family picnic. In every photo, their eyes were locked, filled with a joy so pure it made his chest ache. He reached the last page, which he had left blank with a note that said, "For all the adventures still to come." That's when his phone buzzed. It was an email notification, a receipt from a fancy downtown restaurant he'd never heard of. It wasn't for him. It was a confirmation for a reservation for 2, under Sarah's name, for that very evening. He checked the time. It was in an hour. Curiosity and a sickening sense of dread battled within him. He called Jessica. Her voice was bright and cheerful until Mark asked if she was having a good time with Sarah. There was a pause, a moment of confusion. "Sarah?" Jessica said. "I haven't seen her all day, Mark. I'm at home with a cold." The world tilted on its axis. The rain drumming against the window seemed to mock the storm brewing inside him. He didn't get angry. He didn't yell. A strange, terrifying calm washed over him. He knew what he had to do. He put on his coat, grabbed his keys, and drove downtown. The restaurant was intimate and candlelit, the kind of place for lovers. He stood outside in the rain, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. And then he saw them. Sarah, sitting across from a man he didn't recognize. She was laughing, a real, genuine laugh he hadn't heard in months. She reached across the table, her hand covering the man's, her eyes. The same eyes that once held a universe of love for Mark were now shining with adoration for someone else. He didn't go in. He just watched for a moment, an invisible ghost at their feast. He saw the truth, stark and undeniable. It wasn't about the lies, the secrets, or the other man. It was about what was missing, the love. It was completely, utterly gone. He drove home in a daze, the city lights blurring through his tear-filled eyes. The photo album was still on the kitchen floor. He picked it up and looked at the smiling face of the woman he thought he knew. When Sarah came home hours later, she found him sitting in the dark. "Mark, why are all the lights off?" she asked, her voice laced with a false brightness that now grated on his soul. He didn't answer. He just stood up and walked towards her. He didn't yell or accuse. He just looked at her, really looked into her eyes, and in that moment, he saw it all. The guilt, the pity, and the cold, empty space where their love used to be. It was in that silent, heartbreaking gaze that he finally understood. The love was gone forever. And in that ending, in that devastating realization, he knew he had to find a new beginning for himself. This kind of heartbreak is a profound pain, but it's also a turning point. It's the moment you stop fighting for something that's already lost and start fighting for yourself. If you've ever felt this way, know that you are not alone and your story isn't over. It's just starting a new chapter. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the complex journey of the human heart. We'll see you in the next one.